So without further ado, I will introduce our presenters. Jason Feldman's career has focused on technical skill development, managing complex projects, community-based disease prevention, and cross-cultural mindful leadership development. Jason contributed to chemical policy reform while working at the Oregon Public Health Division, as well as legislation designed to modernize Washington State infectious disease control initiatives. At Florida Department of Health, Jason managed state career registry reporting. Mr. Feldman is a graduate of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Public Health Prevention Service Leadership Training and Career Development Fellowship Program, for which he provided scaled emergency countermeasure training for state and local health officials. As a Peace Corps volunteer in Haiti and Guyana, Jason delivered adolescent reproductive health training workshops. Jason earned degrees from Northwestern University and Tulane University, School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. He is currently completing a certificate training in happiness studies, the science and facilitation of happiness for individuals and teams. Michelle Zhou is a career and leadership coach specializing in helping leaders and professionals grow their business and achieve their career goals. Passionate about diversity and inclusion, and has developed DEI training workshops and is a key facilitator in Microsoft's company-wide DEI initiative. Michelle also helped Microsoft Asian Employee Resource Group and other community leaders in cultivating women leaders and building inclusive culture. She has numerous training certifications and MBA, MS, MA in Happiness Studies, 2022 to 2024. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Jason and Michelle. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. And I'm just going to share my screen as soon as I'm able to. Jeannie, it says I can't do it while another person is sharing. All right. The share feature at the bottom. This is going to take a quick moment. So I hope you will bear with me. You should be able to see my opening green slide. All right.
Yep.
So you know who Jason and Michelle are. Thank you for joining us. Lots of thank yous around. To set the stage for what we're going to be discussing, we're going to be talking about how happiness factors into the elements of an efficient, successful, trusting team, okay? Different teams today take different forms. A lot of us have been working from home, maybe since like 2020. We did, after all, in Washington have the first confirmed COVID-19 diagnosis. We're going to be applying some of the science and highlighting some of the emerging evidence of ways to develop trust, ways to build efficiency among our team members. We're going to share some techniques, and the success of this session dramatically depends on all of us together. So there's some fun audience participation. I hope that you all know that I see you, I hear you, I appreciate you. I want you to feel encouraged, okay, and enthusiastic about sharing some additional things in terms of what I'm talking about here. I mean happiness as a direction more so than a momentary sensation, although I recognize that pleasure is a great thing for happy experiences, right? When we talk about happiness, we want to focus on whole person well-being. We will talk about the elements of happiness in developing and leading a full and rich life. And also, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now, just a few minutes into it, and that is, well, I woke up on this Tuesday morning with this audacious idea that, well, we would all like to have more happiness in our lives. So maybe you feel similarly, and that's why you're joining. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle.
Thanks, Jason. And you can click one more for the slide. Yeah. We will start with a real story. I will share the story. As introduced, I'm a trainer and a coach, and I work a lot for Microsoft, and many other companies. The story is, during the pandemic time, we all experienced that. One engineering team leader brought me to his team. He said his team was performing very well. He is a result-driven leader. That's the word he used. And he was very proud of the team's performance. But in the recent employee satisfaction survey, he got a low score from his team. So that's employee satisfaction. So he wanted me to help coach him and the team to really improve this employee satisfaction. So the question here is, why does a result-driven team have a low employee satisfaction score? So that's a question. And I think, I hope this question also make you start to think about this. Then I was brought to observe this team's team meeting. And in the first meeting, the first thing I observed was a screen, just like what I demonstrated on this slide. It's like this. Nobody turned on the video camera. By the way, this is not the exact Teams screenshot. I'm just trying to help you visualize what I was trying to describe. So, well, it's understandable. That was at the pandemic time, and everyone was working from home. So we all use technology to get things done. And that was a small team with 8 to 9 people. In the meeting, nobody turned on the video camera from the beginning to the end. And the team just jumped right into work discussion, no chit chat, no small talk, directly into their business, which is very technical. I would say the meeting was very effective. Well, let me put this way, use this right word. The meeting was very efficient. I think that's the right word for it. But it had very little interaction. The leader talked, then asked each person to talk about their work. So that's the first meeting I observed. And later, because I'm working with the team, so I had one-on-one opportunities to interview with the team members. And then they mentioned that they did not feel that they were in a team. They felt they were in a group of individuals working there. They really didn't know each other well because half of the team were hired during the pandemic time. And in tech industry, people worked from home from March 2020 until pretty late time. So it's been quite a long time people work from home. So these people, they don't know, they have never seen their coworkers' faces, even from these online meetings. And they described their team leader as a very professional engineer, very great at technical side, very focused on tasks, but they felt that they didn't know their leader as a real person. And the leader didn't know them as individual people. I want to quote one person's words. This person said, "I'm feeling like a working machine at work, and there's very little human kind of a warm connection with each other." So that's the situation. And some young team members, they really crave friendship because they knew nobody after they get into this company and maybe moving into this area, and they felt lonely. And they said they would leave the team or the company when the job market is better, because that period of time, having a job is a good thing. But they had this thought, right? So going back to this question, why a result-driven team had a low employee satisfaction score, and how is this impacting their engagement at work? I hope this question starts to trigger you to think. Now, I want to share with you 2 to think about, how do we think about this question, and how there's something here we want to think about. Here is a slide with some questions, which is from Gallup. Sorry, it's a global analytics and consulting company. They do a lot of employee surveys. On the screen, there are some questions from the Gallup's famous 12 questions, which is on employee engagement survey. They use 12 questions to assess employees' engagement, and the employees will say in their survey, agree or strongly agree, disagree or strongly disagree, those scales. They will agree or disagree to those questions. That's how the survey looks like. And among those 12 questions, I highlighted on the slide, question number 5 and the 10. So the question number 5, it asks, how much do you agree? My manager or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. So that's a question there. And question number 10 on that survey is, how much do you agree on this, right? I have a best friend at work. So that statement, how much do you agree on of these? So why would Gallup ask these 2 questions, which relate to the employee engagement survey? Well, because research has shown that having a sense of belonging and a relationship with their colleague impact employee engagement and satisfaction. So that's why, Jason, can you click? This is really important. That's why these type of questions is showing in this 12 question about employee engagement survey. Having a sense of belonging and a relationship with their colleague really impact employee engagement and satisfaction. Okay, and with that, let's go to the next slide. So here, I want to ask you this question. This question really helps us to think, right? And if you are working in an effective team, how do you feel when you come to work in the morning? And how does the team culture feel like? Please share your thoughts in the chat. I think at this moment, we can open the chat function. Wow, great. I see supported, happier, gratitude, friendly, excited to connect, energized. Wow, happy, clear goals. Wow, motivated. So many great answers, right? Appreciate it. Wow, that's great. Really appreciate your sharing about how you feel and how the team culture looks like. That's great. Okay, so those questions help us to think about how we think, how we feel. So this is why the Gallup research says, right, having a sense of belonging and relationship with their colleague really impact employee engagement and satisfaction. Now I'm handing over to Jason.
Thank you, Michelle. All right. Multiple screens here, but now, so the Washington State Department of Health has highlighted health and wellness as one of its key strategic priorities, recognizing that, I mean, without a strong workforce, we can't have any Washington State Department of Health. There aren't going to be teams, period. People aren't going to stick around. The last few years, I believe, have really challenged all of us in a lot of different ways. I mean, I would even add that the collective global psyche has been wounded by the how it has encumbered us and the challenges that we face through it in different ways. Well, fortunately, in Washington State, October 30th, 2013, Governor Inslee signed Executive Order 13-06, which directed all state agencies to develop internal employee wellness programs and directs their supervisors even to encourage their staff to participate in these wellness programs as they became online, as they developed, and also to report twice a year to the healthcare authority how the progress was going around this. And I can tell you that Washington State has taken this very seriously. As somebody who was involved with developing the charter, as somebody who voluntarily, as an employee, has led yoga classes and who gets a lot out of that kind of thing. It's something that Washington State has done a great job with. And it's something that the employees do appreciate. So when we heard from Amy Lineker last week, for good reason, she called out our nation's top physician, U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy. Why? Well, because he himself has identified social connection, workplace well-being, workforce burnout as 3 of the 6 national health priorities. Similarly, without a healthy workforce, without workplace well-being, we aren't going to be a viable, sustainable, functioning place, to live and work as a country. So these are important items for all of us to consider as we think about the work that we want to bring, how we want to show up for our team members, right? How we want to rely on them. I'm going to hand it back over to Michelle.
Okay, so Jason just talked about how important it is to think about the team, the culture, how the wellness and the well-being, all these things, right? How people feel in the team. Now, I want to come back to the story because I started earlier with that story to get us to think, well, if a team, right, if it's just performing, just delivering, working hard, and then how about the people, right? If they don't feel this, like many of you mentioned, if people don't feel the good side, being appreciated, feel all these positive emotions, then they may not be satisfied. So going back to my story, as a team coach, I worked with the team to change their culture towards building a sense of belonging, because that's the problem they mentioned, and developing real relationships with their colleagues. So how did they do that? Well, we started with the team leader. Team relationship building starts with the leader leading with empathy and authenticity. So very specifically, the team leader decided to turn on the video camera in every meeting, and no matter it's a one-on-one or a team meeting, because it's all working virtually. And very soon, other people turned on their camera too, and they got to see each other's face, each other's home, and even their dogs, cats, and occasionally someone's kids run into the meeting, and everyone just smile and say hi to the kids. So it's very different kind of feelings, atmosphere in those meetings. People are less serious, and people start to smile a lot. And the leader also started to share about personal side, and to be known beyond just work to other people. And the leader asked caring questions about others and be curious about others and listen to others. Then I, the team coach, facilitated a few team meetings to discuss what kind of a culture they want. The first discussion was about the team leader. I remember it was without the team leader. The team leader volunteers said, well, the first meeting, maybe I shouldn't be there so that people can feel freely to talk about what they thought, what they think, right? If they have something not very positive about me, that's totally fine. So the leader decided not to be there, just to have a place that people can talk freely. So people can voice out their thoughts and their ideas. Then they brought the leader in, and then they decided together on how they can build the team culture towards what they really want. So to make the long story short, in the 6 months I worked with them, I saw huge change in the team culture. And remember, we started with the satisfaction score. So after 6 months, when we measure it again, the satisfaction score went up really significantly. So this is just one example I shared with you. And there are many different situations that causes low employee satisfaction and low engagement. I bet you have some stories too. And we can change this. Start with asking a good question. A right question can help us to get on a journey to really explore what we can do. So I'm handing this back to Jason.
Thank you. All right. So again, among other questions, one is, what are some things that we can do to create an enabling environment, to really encourage, to really see and hear and recognize our team members so that we can achieve a better collective performance, right? So that we ourselves think about the question, well, how would I want to feel coming into work on a Monday morning? How would I want them to feel, right? And one of the leading causes of burnout for human beings and for teams is lack of opportunities to rest and to recover and to recharge. So maybe we could just consider that some individuals might be more prone to burnout than others because of any number of things going on, to the extent that we are aware, with issues going on in their personal lives, issues coming up. I mean, how oftentimes the way that projects and tasks and responsibilities are not always equally or equitably distributed. Those are some things for us to consider as well. And acknowledging differences and experiences among our coworkers is an important way of creating a positive working environment and increasing overall well-being. So, some tips for doing that are focusing on the relationships and emotional well-being, okay? Enhancing inclusion, belonging, and diverse perspectives, okay? And ideally, we want to communicate with an enhanced vibrational energy. And that might mean different things to different people, obviously, depending on the situation. But one thing that I want to emphasize is I think all of us have been in interactions with people that have felt transactional and not very warm. And that's something we want to try to be mindful of and we want to avoid. So good news. Over the last 20 years, there is a new emerging field of happiness studies. I know Michelle through the Happiness Studies Academy. We met at a wonderful retreat last spring in beautiful South Florida. The Happiness Studies Academy is a certificate training focusing on helping leaders who are themselves dedicated to personal, interpersonal, and communal flourishing. It was started by Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, bringing together the world's leading scholars and latest scientific research, but also drawing on the wisdom of the Stoics and other Greek philosophers, as well as various resources in different media formats in this digital age. And the screen that you're looking at now exemplifies some of the many prominent universities that are teaching coursework on happiness. Maybe you've seen in the past couple of years something in the way of a preponderance of articles in the New York Times, in the Wall Street Journal, and elsewhere about happiness studies, about, teaching emerging business leaders about the importance of happiness. Well, why would happiness studies be important to a business leader? Maybe you'll think about that. Maybe you'll share something as we progress in this presentation. Some things that come to mind for me are that happy, optimistic leaders inspire trust. Employees who feel engaged and invested are more likely to stick around, right? And happy work environments with engaged teams reinforce reciprocity, okay? Mutually reinforcing trust internally, and they get other people excited. So there are some key techniques that we're going to be focusing on, myself and Michelle, and we're going to open this up with some activities. These are the 3 areas that we're going to exemplify through activities. And what I want to, again, draw on is questions about how would we want to be heard and seen and connected with in order to trust our team members, in order to feel like we can trust them, okay? We want to avoid interactions that feel transactional. Going back again to the question, how do I want to feel when I wake up in the morning on a Monday and I'm going into work? I'm going to hand it back over to Michelle for the next activity.
Okay, so we have, Jason just showed with you, we have 3 techniques we want to touch on today, because we really want to give you something that you can take home and you can apply in your work. Actually, those things that you can also apply at your home if you want. So the first activity is really related to the people connection, right? Building the real relationship. So let's think about this. This one we will use the chat function. So think about your co-workers and type in the chat a hobby or something they are passionate about without listening people's names. So we don't want to say Jason likes dancing. I don't know. So just see how much you know about your coworker, right? Think about one person and just I see a lot of things coming up. Wow, all kinds of things, all kinds of hobbies and or passions. So that tells us, well, we know something about other people. And if you the reflection here is, if you think of somebody, then you say, I really don't know this person, what they cared about, because I only know they work here. Then that also tells you some information. Okay, great. Thank you for all this sharing. Let's move next. So that's one activity. Is a quick way to help you to get a sense of how much you know about your co-workers. And the point we want to make here is we want to really care about individual team members, no matter if you are the team leader or just a team member. If we get to know each other, we care about each other, and we cultivate real relationship. That means go beyond, okay, this person has a title of a software developer, or that person has a title of a finance manager, right? So we go beyond that. We cultivate real relationship, and that's why people can feel this connection, people, right? How do we do it? Here are some tips that we want to share with you. Of course, there are many more tips, but these are the 2 ones that Jason and I think are really important and easy to do. The first one is curiosity. Curiosity means really curious about other people as a real person beyond their title, beyond just the work. So you can ask questions. Well, of course, you want to know the question is appropriate questions. You want to ask questions, really know, like, right, this is like a friend if you want to know more about how things going. Oh, yeah, how was your weekend, etc. So you can use the right question, appropriate question in your environment. And you can get to know each other as a real person through being curious about others, have this genuine curiosity, caring about others, caring no more than just their work. And of course, you can also start with sharing. So you can share your own personal life, be open to learning from one another. And so sharing is also connected with the curiosity. You can have kind of curiosity towards ourselves, then we can share to other people. If I think back about the team, right? The team, I just shared the story earlier. So the team leader, he started to facilitate, they call it a virtual coffee break. At that time, it's working from home, so it's virtual coffee breaks for this team to get to know each other. So instead of those very formal business meetings, they are having created those opportunities for people to really just to get to know each other better and deeper. And the team leader made it as an example, right? Role model for others. He started by sharing a picture of his family and by sharing what he cares about outside of the work. Then other people also feel more comfortable to share themselves too. And they also did something that they share voluntarily, share their personal life on their Monday morning meetings. So they kind of keep the first 10 minutes-ish as the personal update time to just share what's new in their life. So that really helped people to get to know each other and cultivate this real relationship. And of course, there are many other ideas. We will emphasize these too. And I'm transition back to Jason.
Great, thank you. So the first of those techniques that were highlighted is having empathy, right? Is seeing our coworkers as people, as essential team members, right? For the function, for the operation, and also for the warmth and the personality of the team. So Brene Brown, of course, has a lot of fantastic quotes about this. I find the ones that are most impressive to me, the ones that really encourage us to be imperfect and to see ourselves as imperfect, recognizing that, well, without intimacy, there isn't going to be conflict. And well, I mean, without a functioning team, that without difficult conversations, we aren't going to be able to really trust each other and become high functioning teams. So there was a team that I worked with at DOH that really comes to mind because it was a group of team members who would share vulnerable issues about the stresses of motherhood at different times during the year, anti-anxiety medication experiences that they had, and they really invited others to share. And I found it to be, well, really an excellent way of inviting others to be vulnerable, to trust them, and it resulted in a very positive, healthy level of camaraderie. So now we're going to move into another. We're going to move into another activity momentarily. I'm going to raise the question here, though. What are some personal values or interests you might share with team members for them to see you more fully and be encouraged themselves to share about themselves?
Yes. So that was a question for us to think, and you can just think about it, reflect by yourself. And we will just transition to the third technique. So Jason, can you just go back? Yep. Given we have very limited time, so we want to share as much as techniques as we can here. And thanks for the folks sharing in the chat. at this moment, let's move into the third techniques we want to share today, which is express gratitude and appreciation. I think many of you in the chat shared earlier, how do you feel when you are working in a very a good team that you really like, right? You feel you belong to, you feel you want to work in. Many of you mentioned those words, appreciation, gratitude, the feeling that you have, right? So, in fact, a lot of studies have been done in this area about gratitude and appreciation. Among those researchers, Dr. Robert Emmons and Mike Kulo, they are very known for their work. And together they published a book, The Psychology of Gratitude. Here we want to share one of the studies that they did. This study was very simple. They asked participants to take a couple of minutes each night and write down at least 5 things that they were grateful for the day, right? And these could be large or small things, from God to a TV show, from work to a nice meal they had, from a joke of a friend, or from or exercise they did, right? And this study, this exercise or this task they ask people do for a few weeks. And next slide, please. Yeah. So this very small thing, just a few minutes every day, write 5 things they are grateful of. Very brief exercise. It turned out to have far-reaching consequences, big impact, and beyond being more grateful about life as a whole. Those who regularly expressed gratitude through those few weeks, they felt happier and more optimistic and more likely to achieve their goals, therefore will be more successful, and they're more generous towards other people. In other words, they're kinder, and they are physically healthier because the study tested their immune system. Their immune system was stronger. So how is it such a simple and a brief intervention, that's the word we use in psychology, intervention, can lead to such significant benefits? Emmons and McCullough, they think, well, being grateful really triggered an upward spiral of growth and well-being. And think about it, when we notice those good things in our work and lives, and for that exercise, people need to write down 5 things, right? So they kind of look for, the next day, they will pay attention to the good things. So when we really notice those good things in our work and life, then we feel better. And when we feel better, we become more open to and are more likely to pursue those positive experiences. And we then have more to be grateful for, right? So that's the spiral, which in turn, it will improve our quality of life. So that's how this, this very simple intervention really can lead to great benefits. So what about appreciation? Because we're looking at gratitude and appreciation. Well, appreciation, this word has 2 meanings. One is to be grateful for something, and the other is to grow in value. The US dollar appreciated, right? So that means to grow in value. So these 2 meanings are intimately connected. For when you appreciate the good appreciates. When you appreciate the good appreciates. And think about if at work, your boss or coworkers tell you that they appreciate your work, how would you feel? Well, I would feel good. I would feel really happy, and I will do better, do more, and repeat all these good behaviors that people appreciated about, right? So appreciation also brings us positive emotions. Now, let's try, spend just a few minutes to try this activity. As we said, we want to give you some tools you can bring home. So this activity is to write by yourself. Don't share in the chat, just to write by yourself 5 things that you are grateful from yesterday. Then share in the chat. How does that make you feel? We will give you like 2 minutes. So just write very briefly. Maybe a keyword or a short sentence about 5 things you are grateful from yesterday by yourself. Then share in the chat about how does that make you feel when you write about that. And there's a tip here. When you write about it, if you have time, when you do this exercise in the evening, if you do it by yourself, and really bring that image, bring that thing, right? Whatever activity that you experienced or experience you had in the day, you are grateful about. Bring it back in your brain, in your mind, and try to feel how it felt at that time. What kind of emotions come out from that, and remember the details, remember the smiles or those things that happens, right? Because that will help you relive that type of positive experience, and that will bring a lot more into your feelings. Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for everyone sharing in the chat. I see all these wonderful things, right? All these very positive feelings. Feel blessed, appreciated, feel appreciative, not lonely, not as lonely as before, feel calm, feel safe, feel thankful. Well, and make me want more, right? I wrote, then I have good night, good long night sleep. Wow, all these great things. So that's such a simple, a very, very simple intervention that you can bring it to your home. You can also ask your family to try this. There are many more activities here. I will just share a few more, and so that you can use. By the way, all of these we have prepared a take home handout. Yeah, we call it handout. So you have all of these there. You can do it. Let's just click through all of these. So there are more ways. I will just very briefly talk about it, given the limited time. So you can do this through your day. For example, you can focus on those positive things in your daily life. You can express your appreciation more often to your colleagues, to your friends, to your family members. Don't wait until the end of the year to express it, right? Whenever it happens, if you can send a small way to appreciate that, that would be great. And you can also express in your weekly meetings, and especially if you are a team leader, have a way to really express appreciation or gratitude that really make the day, whoever you appreciate, like I appreciate Jason, right? Invited me to this wonderful conference. That really, really make a big difference to me and to Jason, right? Okay, I want to spend 1 minute on this last thing, gratitude letter, because this one, it's so powerful. It's magic. I use it a lot. And yeah, every time when I use it, it just brings so many stories. So gratitude letter is different than a gratitude card that you buy from a store with a few words printed there, then you just mail to that person with your name sign. No, that's different. It's a letter. So gratitude letter, you can spend a lot more time, right? Depending on 15 minutes, 20 minutes writing a letter. The way how you use it. Well, let me just share with you how I use it, because I am a trainer, a corporate trainer, and I also train in Microsoft as introduced. So I do a lot of training to employees and managers. In Microsoft's manager training, we incorporated this gratitude letter into the training. One of the course, we do it in the class. So I ask those managers, pick a person in your team and write a gratitude letter. I give them time to do it in the class. And then they all write silently. And after that, I said, well, really, you need to find a time, read this letter to this person. Not just email to them or just mail to them. Read this letter to this person. This can really, really make the magic happen. And then they will, after that, right, then they will email me, report back to what happens. So I heard many people think about, the people in companies like Microsoft, very smart and very intelligent people. And they come to me, they reported back, the managers, they said, well, this is just so powerful. When I read this letter to my team member, and I saw tears in their eyes. Then think about that, how powerful it is. Try it. Yeah, if you can, try it. This is a tool, an intervention I strongly suggest everybody try it. You can try it with your parents, with your kids, with your partner. One of the Christmas day, I give a gift to each of my family member. I have 3. We were in pandemic. We didn't go out for shopping. I gave them, each of them, a gratitude letter. I read to them, and everybody have tears, including me, who was reading it. All right, I will hand it back to Jason.
Thank you. All right, so one of my characterizations for happiness was the distinction that happiness is a direction. And, as quality improvement folks here at this Lean Transformation Conference, I think we probably have some similar idea of quality improvement, different tools, different approaches to it. And I would just encourage consideration that, some people really might not wake up in the morning with a natural, automatic, chipper kind of attitude. So I'll go ahead and say it that, for some of us, it's a question of continued quality attention on reframing and focusing on the direction of happiness and whole person well-being. Well, this image that you're looking at right now is one conceptual model that Dr. we call it the SPIRE model. And from this, you can see the elements of happiness, right, that are essential for whole person well-being, beginning with spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional well-being. And I'd like to just spend a little bit of time summarizing the main points from each of these. Again, thinking about the direction of happiness as a process, right, as a journey. Spiritual well-being is about finding purpose and meaning in our day-to-day lives. We have shared with you certain activities and examples, and what we have found is that when our attention is disparately divided, it takes away from our ability to just experience whatever it is that we might be doing or seeing or having happen to us. And that interferes with an ability to be present and mindful, which is critical for spiritual well-being. So that's one area of thinking about spirituality and spiritual wellness. Physical well-being focuses on the mind-body connection. It involves how we take care of ourselves, exercise, sleep, nutrition, rest, right? Rest and recovery. I recently started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and there's a lot of contact, and there's something that happens chemically in our bodies and in our minds when we're grappling or when we're hugging somebody. And from there, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is also, it also demands a lot of mental focus, right? So intellectual well-being involves curiosity, asking questions, people who are curious and pursue creative outlets tend to live healthier, happier, yes, but fuller, more enriched lives. And they also have longer lifespans. So some outlets for intellectual stimulation include reading books, playing a musical instrument, learning a new language. And then the relational well-being is the #1 predictor of overall happiness, okay? It greatly impacts longevity as well. A universal pick-me-up is lending a hand. And I've heard people make the argument that people who are really struggling, who maybe have just come back from deployments in conflict-ridden environments, that one of the best things that you can do is give them a project, ask them for help. Similarly, being kind to people makes them feel better and it makes us feel better, right? Cultivating a sense of belonging is key through kindness and generosity. So emotional well-being, being the last one here, is really arguably the prerequisite, okay? But all these other elements are also absolutely necessary. Giving ourselves permission to be human, to experience anxiety, sadness, envy, and anger. There are, after all, some very disturbing things happening around the world. And in our culture, there is this rush, this 24/7 cycle and tendency of not stopping, slowing, and taking in the good things around us, but being preoccupied with oftentimes things that are out of our control. So I have a couple more very important slides here. Wanting to wrap things up as we're getting towards the end of time. I am really hoping that all of you right now are thinking to yourself, well, Jason and Michelle, yeah, those are the 3 things, but there are so many other things, hopefully, that you learned, that you thought of through your activities, okay? Maybe you can't wait to get off this so that you can go ahead and put together a gratitude card for your daughter or your neighbor. Some of the things that we focused on, though, caring about individual team members over the tasks, the deadlines, right? The logistics. I like to say, let's not miss the point of this interaction, this moment, this opportunity, right? Leading with empathy and authenticity. Expressing gratitude and appreciation to increase relational, emotional well-being for a sustaining, high-functioning, efficient team. There are some superstars in our lives. A very big shout out to Joanne Lee, to Cher Levinson, Megan Davis, right? Angie Miller, to my therapist, to all of the therapists, to my Florida team. I'm pointing my index finger at you. All of you. To the work best friend. I have several. Would anybody else like to add? Energetically, this is overwhelming because I feel this giant silence of gratitude. That's what I choose to feel.
And I want to also add to all the organizers who are working so hard behind the scene to make this large conference happen. I am really amazed on the amount of work and also the great quality. And to all of you who spend your time together with us today, thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle and Jason. This has been an amazing presentation. I love the really concrete ways that people can take away and apply this immediately in their own work and personal life. It's been a pleasure having you. We had a couple